And the two lobbyists are present, or Mr. Park isn't yet, but Mr. Thompson and Mr. O'Donnell are here.
I see.
And we are
Thank you.
live, Madam Chair. We are live. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cornelius. All right, I'm going to call this meeting of the Intergovernmental Legislative Relations Committee meeting to order. I do want to say that we do not have a quorum, so we are going to have an informal discussion today. We are without a chair and a vice chair and the majority of our members. But it is the last meeting before the sessions begin, so we want to at least have some conversations around the things on the agenda. So, somebody speaking? I couldn't tell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to apologize. We just had an issue with the council director just called me and the committee of the whole chair. So she probably will be getting on shortly, and I apologize for my tardiness.
Thank you. I think we had word that Councilor Grout was not available for this.
Yes.
Okay. So we now have Councilor Pena, myself, and Mr. Whalen, I believe, is on. So there'll be three of us. Okay. So let's just go right into the reports from the state lobbyist. I saw Mr. Thompson. I haven't seen Mr. Park, so let's go to Mr. Thompson and get that update from him.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm going to take my camera off because I'm having some problems with my feed. But I appreciate being here with you all. We're sitting up in Santa Fe right now. They just released the LFC budget recommendations. So we've got the framework on a bunch of this stuff. We're still processing it. I guess the short answer is that from now on, every day, something's going to happen that means something to the city of Albuquerque. So we will be crunching that and making sure there's nothing in there that is a surprise. We're in the process right now of working on a meeting for sort of Mr. Menacucci and his crew, as well as the mayor's crew on Capitol, to have a conversation with Callie Carswell, just like a pre-session check-in to make sure like there's nothing out there from a reversion standpoint or anything that's threatening, that's cooking that we need to know about. So that's one of our things that we have to get done within the next week. And then there are a few things out there as it relates to Capitol that obviously all the projects have been uploaded, but maybe we're missing some, or maybe something comes through because of a legislative prerogative. So we're just trying to facilitate that stuff when it happens. And then finally, Madam Chair, if you think about in prior years, there was that GRO type of projects. And definitely based upon the executive rec, we believe there might be something like that, although the governor tried to sort of pigeonhole what it would be for. But I do believe that I haven't seen what the legislature has to say about that in the documents today. But I think that's something that we need to talk about, is like, if it does come to pass and counselors or folks are approached, or us staff are approached, like, how do we process those requests? How do we feed them into the system to make sure that they're being reviewed properly? I mean, it certainly wouldn't be for us to approve anything, but that's just like getting the machinery worked out so that we're not missing something. I know from talking with Mr. Park, like, we have bill filing started on the 2nd. So like there's all sorts of things happening that we need to stay on top of, and that's our responsibility. But that's what we mostly wanted to talk about today, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So can I just ask a couple questions on that? For the GROW funds, what is your recommendation for how we should handle those as they come in?
Madam Chair, my recommendation, because like historically the junior problem we always had was serving as the fiscal agent, but having no ability to control anything. And it was like just leaving us holding the bag on stuff that wasn't really viable. I think they tried to address that with GROW by making the COGS more involved in that part of it. But that still leaves us to look at it for exactly what it does and how it impacts items of interest to us. And so my recommendation would be that we have a process for evaluating projects on a merit basis. so that we can see, like, not only is it a good idea, but it has a legitimate executable path. So that, you know, I don't think it's would be too hard for us to put something in motion that would give us a chance to scrutinize things as they come up.
I agree. Oh, I think we just lost Miss Anaya. Mr. Whalen, Mr. Minicucci, is that amenable, and could it be something that is like a small group of, you know, someone from council services, someone from the administration, and Mr. Thompson that does that review and then lets us know, so that we can share that information with all counselors?
I think that's the way to go, so that we each have someone that can review it, and then it'll be up to them to relay that information to everybody else.
Okay, so Mr. Minicucci, is that okay on your end to be the point person? I know you, both of you have a lot on your plate, but I do think that's important, and I do want to make sure that any projects that are going through the growth fund, if it ends up being included, which we're not sure of, that we make sure that we get that information, obviously to the mayor, but also to the other city councilors, not just those on IGR. So maybe we can have that as the plan moving forward, and if it for some reason doesn't work, you can let us know and we can rework it. Does that work for you, Mr. Thompson?
Yes, ma'am. And that underscores the larger point, Madam Chair, which is, as I get things that I believe are of interest, I'm just going to push them up through Mr. Minicucci and Miss Anaya. I mean, just the second I get them, and then that way we can get as many eyes on things as quickly as possible.
Totally agreed. And then I would just ask Mr. Minicucci to send it out to all city councilors, not just those on IG.
Yeah, and from the city side too, I mean, I know Miss Anaya will have it, but also to Josh and Dr. Single and myself.
Yes, sir.
Will do.
And we had Miss Anaya, but she seems to have dropped off. So let's just make sure we follow up with her and make sure we've told her what we volunteered her for. Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Park, did you have any updates that you want to provide?
Hey, good afternoon, Madam Chair and members. I apologize initially for being late. I was running from call to call. I will just give you sort of the brief 1-minute overview, which is this is obviously the governor's last 30-day session. She has indicated to everyone that she intends to be very aggressive this last legislative session, that she does not intend to go out as a lame duck. So I think we will see a lot of legislation, in particular with regard to access to healthcare, artificial intelligence, and public safety will again be an issue. With respect to the budget, I think you guys were just talking about it, and Joe, we will have, by most accounts, a fairly flat budget, with the notable exception that there is a significant amount of one-time money. But we should, and all departments should be looking forward to really a relatively flat budget for the upcoming fiscal year. So we will have to wait and see where that goes. The last thing is with respect to the access to health care. This has been a big issue for the governor, and she is working with lots of the various interested parties, and the governor has made representations that she expects the legislature to fix the access to health care issue, and that if they are unable to do so in a 30-day session, that she has no qualms about calling them back for a special session or multiple sessions until it gets done. So we will see where that goes. But I truly, unlike some 30-day sessions, the last 30-day sessions in the governor's term truly is it's a marathon inside of a sprint. So we're going to be, from the get-go, we're going to be busy.
Thank you for that. Any questions or follow-up for either Mr. Thompson or Mr. Park?
Madam Chair, just a quick follow-up. Appended to the invite is also the report from the LFC in August as to what their plans were for capital outlay for the session and potentially what their long-term plans are if anyone's interested in reading it, particularly what they might be looking at doing in the session regarding how they configure some of their accounts might be a benefit.
Thank you. I did have one question for either of the lobbyists. The governor put a significant amount in her budget again for affordable housing. I think the city and the county are both, desperately in need of affordable housing dollars. I haven't had a chance to look at the LFC framework, but have you heard any news on that front in terms of dollar funding that would go through Secretary Nair?
Madam Chair, I haven't heard anything specific to the number, but I have heard more like aspirational encouragement to do everything we can to work closely with the county to make sure we're doing everything we can to not be confusing members by having multiple requests.
Right.
Yeah.
And Councilor, we were very successful last session in collaborating with Bernalillo County on, I can't remember, I want to say 80, but it might have been $40 million. And we're going to continue to monitor that and try to work on those issues.
It was slightly over 80.
80, that's right. I knew it was 80.
Which is really good news. But and the city and the county is still going to be working with us on that. We've all, we've been lobbying it along together. Some of the commissioners and I are working on it together too. But I just want to flag that as kind of a huge priority for both. And we do have the Middle Rio Grande Housing Collaborative that is also working on behalf of the city and the county. So just wanted to flag that.
And Councilor, it goes a lot of credit to you and your leadership on working with the county, because by providing a united front between Albuquerque and Bernalillo County, and that partnership, is going to really make the difference. Because ultimately, some rural legislators, they don't really differentiate between the county and the city. They think you're all one. They understand that you're not. They get it. They're smart, right? But you just sort of looked at the Albuquerque Bernalillo from rural legislators as the Emerald City. You guys have everything. So it's making sure that you are coordinating and in lockstep. That's what's going to help us get across the finish line.
Thank you.
I have one quick thing, just kind of want to clarify. You said the 3 areas for the session would be healthcare, public safety, and what was the other one?
Artificial intelligence continues
AI.
to be,
Gotcha.
AI. So yeah, that continues to be an issue. Representative Chandler, in fact, already introduced. Everyone knows, right? I mean, everyone's just shaking their head. Nobody's surprised by the 3 big, but this is a very big issue for Representative Chandler. I attended in December. Representative Serrato had an AI conference over at the CNN Workforce Solutions off of Alameda. This is a big deal. I mean, and we're trying to figure out how to do it. And the problem with the technology is that my suspicion is that any legislation you craft is probably outdated by the time the ink is dry on the paper. I mean, it's just so rapidly progressing. So I don't know that they're going to make a lot of progress on AI, but I think it's going to be a subject of a lot of debates. And my suspicion is that in this coming interim, you'll continue to see a lot of work on it. So, but we're watching it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Any other follow-ups for the state legislature? I just have one more quick request. It's for Mr. Whalen. I've seen the county's list of affordable housing requests, but I have not seen the cities. Could you please share that with councilors?
I will get that. We have city's request for affordable housing.
Thank you. Okay,
it.
we're going to move on to agenda item B, which is our report on the federal situation, and John O'Donnell is here, so we'll turn it over to you, John.
Madam Chair, thank you. Happy New Year to you folks. We have a wash of optimism in the Capitol at on this day of this week, because we're beginning to see some appropriations bills move for FY26, and we think that's good because Congress really does not want to do another continuing resolution. think they specifically don't want to do it for one reason, which is it's an election a year. And if they can't pass a spending bill, they're subject to some criticism on the campaign trail. So where we are, I'll talk about appropriations, a little bit about authorizations that will be coming up this year, and also funding in terms of earmarks and grants. So to be brief, where we are right now is the CR that was passed last year and expires on January 30th, had 3 bills. They were really bills that are never very controversial. It was military construction, veterans affairs, that's one. The ag bill, and then legislative affairs, which basically funds the operations of Congress. Today, they got a rule in the House Rules Committee to move another package of 3 bills to the floor, which the House likely will vote on tomorrow. And that's energy and water, interior and environment. And the third one is escaping me for the moment. It's commerce, justice, science. So those 3 bills would hopefully pass tomorrow in the House. The Senate probably will not take those up until next week. Then there's a third group of bills that they're going to try and pass. I think the House is going to try and pass next week. And that's going to be Homeland Security, Financial Services, and Foreign Operations. If they can get those done, they'll be sent over to the Senate. They'll get those finished, and we will have 9 out of 12. And then the last 3 bills that we have are THUD, Transportation, Housing, Urban Development, the Defense Bill, and Labor HHS. Defense and THUD, I don't expect a lot of controversy. They want to get defense done because it has to be done. THUD, members have many earmarks in that bill, and Labor H is usually controversial. And what they do is they usually try to match it with 2 bills like CJS or THUD or defense, where they want to get those bills through. So they try to keep the policy writers out of the HHS and go forward. So there's a possibility by January 30th or before that we have all 12 bills done. If any of them aren't finished by that time, the bills that are not done, those agencies and programs will go under a full year CR for 26, which basically means no new spending in those bills. All the other bills that are passed will have earmarks and other spending for programs reflected in a FY26 budget. So that's where we are with appropriations. Authorizations, and some of this information, by the way, will be in the quarterly report that we're finishing right now for the city. But I wanted to bring to your attention that this coming year, we're going to have a lot of legislative activity. We don't know that the bills will get finished, but you're going to have surface transportation reauthorization, which is highways and transit and highway safety. Another water resources development bill, which funds projects for the Corps of Engineers, projects and studies for the Corps of Engineers. There are 2 housing bills, which are bipartisan that, excuse me, the House just finished one bill at the end of the year. So we have 2 housing bills, which are pretty comprehensive in terms of changes to HUD programs. I think there'll be some progress on getting those bills done next year. It's possible they could finish them. And then there is FEMA reform legislation. There is a House bill that was introduced last year, bipartisan, came out of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee with a 50-1 vote. The Senate does not have a bill, but we expect that they will develop one this year, and we may see some action on that. Of course, because what the administration did when it came into office a year ago, with it wanting to change FEMA substantially and get rid of some of the programs. The House bill really does protect the programs that exist, and in particular, the Building Resilient Infrastructure Communities, which the administration zeroed out in its budget proposal. The House actually continues that program. So those four pieces of legislation, there'll be a lot of activity on. And the city did send letters this past year in support of some of these bills. But we'll have to go back and do more of that in this coming year because, for example, we didn't have a House housing bill, so we need to follow up on that with the delegation. Earmark process for 27. I think it's going to start pretty quickly at the end of January. If we have no matter what, whatever appropriations bills we have done for 26, and if there's a CR, once that's finished by the 30th, they'll open up the appropriations process for FY 27. And of course, the administration and the council have already developed a list of projects for consideration. So as soon as that process opens up, we will be engaging with you and the congressional delegation, and I'm sure you'll hear from the local representatives of the congressional delegation about what their guidance is for submission this year. But I think you could probably count on March, sometime in March being the deadline for both House and Senate requests. And I expect that Senator Lujan and Senator Heinrich are going to do what they've done the past 2 years, and that is you'll submit an early request and they'll decide whether they want you to submit more information, thereby telling you that that second request tells you that that's one that they want to submit to the committees. One thing I'll say, and I've talked with Mr. Parkinson and Mr. Manacucci about this, is we heard from both Senate offices in December in staff conversations that their advice is to submit all the projects that you feel you want considered. We take that to mean a longer list rather than a shorter list. And what's very clear is what they try to do, given the scope of the appropriations earmarking on the Senate side, is they actually look for projects which they may find there's some funding for, but they may not be ones that you would have submitted as your top 5 or 6, but there may be funding for them from some accounts that are not drawn down on by appropriators as much as some other accounts. So I think what we've heard is submit the list and we'll see what we can get to. And that's kind of what they've been doing the past 2 years. So that concludes my report, Madam Chair. If you have any questions, Kyriakis and myself would be glad to try to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Any questions on the federal report? I'll just ask real quickly it's very exciting that appropriations might actually move. That's huge news. Is the appropriation that we've been working on for the green stormwater infrastructure for Workers Memorial Park, is that in that one of those bills that's going to move?
No, we thought that would be in Homeland Security. Now, I will go back and check because they've released some of the earmarked tables, but I did not see it in the first listing, which showed what Mr. Heinrich had submitted. And I am hopeful that what we can do is on that project have further conversations about how we approach it in 27. I will say your question, Madam Chair, does raise this point for me, that the CJS bill I mentioned was finished. They released the table. The city has 4 earmarks that were funded in the CJS bill that total about $4 million. And I saw this morning that Senator Heinrich's staffer sent a notice to the city that funding for the senior stability housing site had been funded in the T-HUD bill. Now, the table for that isn't officially out, but as an appropriator, the senator probably has some inside information. That project, the senior stability site, received 2 million. Another project that is in that T-HUD bill also, I expect, will receive 2 million, but the senator's office didn't comment on that one. But that is for modernization of the West Side Emergency Housing Shelter, and that's a 2 million. So far, if we do count that last one, the city's at about 8 million in earmarks out of those two bills, T-HUD and CJS. Your question about the stormwater, that would have been in the Homeland Security, which has not been completed yet. But as I said, I looked at the table, I didn't see it. And then the only other one is there is a labor HHS request that we have, and that bill again will be one of the final bills.
Thank you. Mr. Minicucci?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Mr. O'Donnell, I think what the question was regarding was that we had submitted to the Corps of Engineers and met with them. They were going to include that as one of their projects, and I believe it's the 529 program, Rural Western Water Conservation. So that might be in the appropriations bill coming out of THUD.
Mr. Minicucci, I'm glad you clarified that. Yeah, okay. So if that did go to the Corps of Engineers, the congressional delegation the past few years, and Senator Heinrich has sort of had the lead in this, has earmarked what we call Rural Western Water Section 595 funds that get earmarked for the Albuquerque district. And from those funds that are earmarked, the district looks at requests that the senator or a member of the House got, for an earmark request to one of those members. If there's a request, then the Albuquerque district tries to fund that project based on the fact that they got an earmark allocation in general for Western rural water. This year, both Mr. Lujan and Mr. Heinrich had substantial funding requests for a rural water project in eastern New Mexico and for the Navajo Gallup Water Supply Project, 59 million for the Gallup Water Supply Project. That some of that money is budgeted already by the Corps for the fiscal year. However, we need to keep pressing with the Albuquerque district for funding, because the Corps also funds those environmental infrastructure projects based on money that the Corps headquarters gets and then distributes to districts. So if a district is saying to the Corps headquarters, hey, we've got some priority projects here, there's a chance the project could get funded. I think it would be good to have a follow-up with Ryan Grunwald, and there's an environmental infrastructure staffer whose name I can't think of in the Albuquerque district, but the city should have a follow-up with that, on that subject.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Myself, I believe so. Yeah, we had met with them and they'd asked us to submit an application, so we'll follow up on that application. That they felt that it was going to fit within their reserves for the year, and they were wanting to figure out which to pay for and which to prioritize. But I think it's a good reminder to us to go ahead. It's time to reach back out to them to see the status.
And Madam Chair and Mr. Minicucci, I'd say this, with the Corps, I know you folks have your experience with them. It is good to, and I say this in a positive way, to stay after them year after year, because I've seen with New Mexico interests that they might not get it the first time, but they stay after the Corps and keep on working it.
Thank you. Any other questions on the federal information? Okay, thank you for sharing the good news that things are starting to move a bit. We appreciate that.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Minicucci, did you, oh, okay. All right, any other topics? I think we're at the end of our agenda. So, oh, Mr.
Madam,
Minicucci, thank you.
yeah, just, I apologize. On other business, just a couple things. One, that there is a calendar in your attachments. We will be sending out invites to all the members. So you should be able to get that on your invites, so you can just attach them in. And then second, at the next meeting will be the council president should have reappointed the committees. So we will then use that as an opportunity to elect a vice chair or to hold the vice chair election, which is usually occurs once that happens. That's all.
Thank you. All right, seeing no further business, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. We'll see you all on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.